Deputy Secretary General, good morning. Let me first preface my remarks by noting that what I am about to say reflect my views alone. I am not a sole fiduciary, and so that is my disclaimer to begin. But in my capacity as the Chief Fiscal Officer for California, which is the world's sixth largest economy, I serve on approximately 70 boards and commissions and financing authorities, and it really provides a unique view in terms of all of these intersections that we're talking about this morning, whether it's tax policy, environmental and sustainability policy, and also looking at what we can do to really influence the capital markets to move the sustainability agenda. So I feel very fortunate to be serving these key positions. But what I want to just spend a little bit of time speaking about, and probably of greatest significance to our focus this morning, is my service on the board of both the California Public Employees Retirement System as well as the California State Teachers Retirement System, the United States' two largest public pension funds with a combined portfolio of more than $535 billion across all asset classes. I also recently joined the board of Ceres, which has been a committed partner with the pension funds to address climate risk in its work to drive sustainability solutions by advancing leadership among those who can influence capital markets. Now, both CalPERS and CalSTRS are more than large global institutional investors. In addressing the financial risk and opportunities of global climate change, both funds work in partnership to employ the strategies of engagement, advocacy, and integration to move the sustainability agenda. With respect to advocacy, both funds, I'm very proud to say, lent their investor voices in support of the Paris Accord and have now turned to the implementation phase, looking at how we as investors can support progress towards the 2 degrees global goal. With respect to engagement, both funds, under constant divestment pressures, have pursued robust engagement with companies. In 2013, CalSTRS targeted 100 companies in the Russell 1000 index portfolio that lacked sufficient disclosure of energy and water use management. And more than 30 companies responded with evidence of their desire to either report efficiency efforts or consider alternative approaches. CalPERS has engaged major emitters in its portfolio individually and in collaboration with partners such as Ceres Carbon Asset Risk Initiative and the Aiming for A campaign. And about 18 months ago, CalPERS conducted a carbon footprint analysis in response to the United Nations PRI's Montreal Pledge and learned that around 80 companies are responsible for 50% of our portfolio's carbon emissions, which then became the inspiration for our initiative, the Global Climate 100. Understanding other asset owners have similar portfolios, likely with the same concentration of carbon risk, the French mission to the United Nations hosted a convening of peer asset owners, managers, and NGOs to begin developing the Global Climate 100. Over the past year, we have been building an alliance around engaging the largest carbon emitters, an alliance requiring the leadership and the incorporation of the work of PRI that would be launched to investors at PRI in person later this month. Consistent with this initiative and CalPERS' 5-year ESG strategic plan, we will continue engaging 20 of the highest carbon emitters per year over the next 5 years. The goal of these firms is to establish carbon reduction targets in line with the 2 degrees global goal. Launching this effort on a global scale by working collaboratively and in partnership with PRI, Ceres, and other investor networks around the globe, elevating engagement to insist on the establishment of low carbon transition strategies by companies deemed to be systemically important carbon emitters, and exercising our collective influence is a tremendous undertaking of Global Climate 100, for which a global focused list of companies, the engagement strategy, and governance documents are currently under development. This is very exciting because there has never been such a concerted effort to organize investors around a common global engagement strategy. And it is my hope that this engagement strategy will inform what will need to be developed with respect to a strategic financing plan to meet our goal, to meet our 2030 agenda. Our advocacy and engagement work in partnership with others is essential to informing our integration work, integrating environmental and climate considerations in our investment decisions. Recently, CalSTRS committed $2.5 billion to a low-carbon index fund inspired by the work of New York State Common. CalPERS continues to encourage investment managers, portfolio firms, and policymakers to consider the risks and opportunities of climate change across asset classes as an important part of our fiduciary duty to members and employer partners. Now, without question, implementing the 2030 Agenda requires working in partnership and collaboratively, and as you can see from what I've shared so far, all hands are on deck. just as all hands were on deck as we worked together, sustaining tremendous momentum leading to the Paris Agreement. All attended the same events, all employed many of the same talking points. Working to make the 2030 agenda a reality will be equally hard work, requiring cooperation and financing strategies. Global institutional investors like CalPERS and CalSTRS can continue to make progress with focused advocacy, engagement, and integration. However, this is not enough. The United Nations can play a major role in accelerating the work of budding partnerships to address climate risk on a global scale, especially as it relates to developing a strategic financing plan. CalPERS and CalSTRS are more than just large global investors. These funds and so many others are part of the global financial infrastructure. For me, the focus now must be on getting the financing right so we may protect the retirement security of the members of our public pension funds. If we do not work on getting the financing structures and framework right, we risk ending up with stranded assets. And I look forward to the UN's leadership once again, as we all did in the work leading up to the Paris Agreement, in its consideration of a strategic financing plan. And I recognize, as one board member of the nation's two largest public pension funds, that the reach of our funds stretches across the globe and our influence is felt deeply. Yet these funds cannot move market practices on their own, so the system must be changed to avoid stranded assets. And I believe the UN is not only in the best position to lead, as we have already seen, to push the environmental sustainability agenda around the world, but the UN, I believe, working with central banks and others and applying its experiences in its Sustainable Development Goals work to date, and identifying potential methods and strategies of emerging markets where innovation continues to be spurred every day, is in the best position to push financial sustainability on a global scale. Deputy Secretary General, we look forward to working with UN on this next critical focus in implementing the 2030 Agenda and to attain fair globalization. Thank you very much.